Welcome to Lively Lewis Stories.
Buckle up, because you're about to join Levi and Ivy on an adventure.
All you need is your imagination, and
Off we go! Lively Lewis Stories!
Hey there, awesome friends.
Guess what?
We're super thrilled to share some exciting news with you.
We've got our very own Lively Lewis merchandise.
Woohoo! Grab your parents and head over to livelylewishshop.com or simply click on the link below in our show notes.
Now, let's dive into today's story.
Grab your snorkels, Levi and Ivy. We're headed to the aquarium, called Levi and Ivy's dad from the bottom of the stairs. Levi and Ivy were about ready to go when they heard their dad. Well, I don't think we'll be getting close enough to use our snorkels, Levi called back. We wouldn't be that lucky. But it was technically possible, at least that day. That was because the aquarium they were going to was having a big contest. If your ticket number matched the ticket they pulled that morning, you and one other person in your group would get to go on a behind-the-scenes aquarium tour of a lifetime. The lucky winners would get to help train dolphins, feed sharks, get up close with the sea otters, and even grab a snorkel and swim with the fish in the tropics tank. Levi and Ivy wanted to win the big prize so badly, but so did a lot of other people in their town, and they were all headed to the aquarium that day. As Levi and Ivy drove to the aquarium with their parents, they saw lots and lots of traffic up ahead. Do you really think we have a chance at winning the tour? Levi asked Ivy as their dad slowly drove down the road. We have just as good a chance as anyone else, said Ivy. Maybe even more. Ivy was always optimistic and tried to see the positive side of things. Levi decided she was right, and as they got closer to the aquarium, they got more and more excited. I can practically feel the water now, splashing on my skin as we dive into that tropics tank, giggled Ivy. Me too, and I can't wait to see those sea otters, added Levi. Maybe we can take one home as a pet. At this point, Levi and Ivy's parents were so happy that their kids were excited about the possibility of winning the big contest. But they hoped their encouraging ways hadn't set them up for a big disappointment if they didn't win. You know, just going to the aquarium is a prize in itself, said Levi and Ivy's mom. Yeah, and I heard those little clownfish in the tropics tank aren't really clowns at all. False advertising. Can you believe that? Added Levi and Ivy's dad. We don't care, answered Levi. As long as we win that contest, we'll be happy. But just remember, there will be a lot more people that didn't win today, said their mom. And that's perfectly okay. We understand, Mom. It's just nice to think that today could be our day to win big, said Ivy with a smile. They jumped out of the car once their dad parked and headed to the admission window. Levi and Ivy's dad bought 4 tickets and handed the first 2 to Levi and Ivy. I'm sending all my winning energy and good thoughts into these 2 tickets, he said. We really hope you win. Levi and Ivy read off the numbers on their tickets. 197, said Ivy. Sounds like a winner to me. 198, said Levi. My bet is on this one. But if I win, you know I'm taking you along as my guest, Ivy. Same here, Levi, added Ivy as they waited for the aquarium gates to open. As soon as they did, an ever-growing crowd of people funneled inside. Once inside, they were all stopped by the director of the aquarium. He thanked everyone for coming and quickly got to pulling the winning behind-the-scenes aquarium tour ticket number. And the winning number is 197, the aquarium director called out. A flurry of whispers began to form in the crowd. People began to express that they hadn't won and quickly started asking who did. Time seemed to stand still as Levi and Ivy looked at each other, knowing that Ivy was holding the winning ticket. Finally, after they stood there for a few seconds, Ivy and Levi's mom tapped them on the shoulder and said, "It's you, Ivy! You won!" The people standing next to Ivy's mom heard what she had said and called out, "The winner's right here!" as they pointed at Ivy. Ivy raised her hand, which was holding her ticket, and called out, "I've got the winning ticket!" She then grabbed Levi's hand and with her parents close behind, ran up to the front of the crowd where the aquarium director was standing. He double-checked that the number on the ticket was the same as the one he had just called out and congratulated Ivy with a round of applause. "And is this who you'll be taking with you as your guest?" said the aquarium director, looking at Levi. "Yes," said Ivy. "This is my brother Levi, and we can't wait for our behind-the-scenes aquarium tour of a lifetime. And we can't wait to show you everything that our wonderful aquarium has to offer," said the aquarium director excitedly as she motioned for one of the aquarists to come forward. "This is Sarah, and she'll be your guide today. Take care of these VIPs." And with that, the aquarium director thanked everyone for coming to the contest and wished everyone a wonderful day at the aquarium. As the crowd thinned out, Sarah walked Levi and Ivy over to a big blue door that said, "Aquarium staff only." It was a door that Levi and Ivy had seen many times before when they visited the aquarium. But today, they got to go through it. And what they saw on the other side was a whole new world. "Welcome to Behind the Scenes Aquarium Tour," said Sarah. "I am so happy to have you with us today, Levi and Ivy. The first thing we're going to do is fit each of you for a wetsuit because we have to jump into the tropics tank and help clean the glass. I hope you don't mind taking a little swim." "Not at all," exclaimed Levi and Ivy together as they ran over to a wall of wetsuits. They picked out the ones that fit them best and went and changed. "Wow, you look just like real aquarists," said Sarah when she saw Levi and Ivy. "Let me walk you over to the top of our tropics tank." As they walked over, they passed a tank with giant jellyfish inside, and it caught Ivy off guard. "Oh, wow! When I looked fast at that tank, Sarah, I thought it was full of plastic bags," said Ivy. "Well, you're actually not the only one to make that mistake," said Sarah. "Sea turtles often will eat plastic bags thinking they're one of their favorite snacks, which is jellyfish. But unlike jellyfish, the plastic bags make them very sick. And other plastics like soda can rings, fishing line, can get tangled around sea turtle flippers, making it really hard for them to swim. And if they can't swim, they can't eat. That's why it's really important to never litter." Levi and Ivy made sure that Sarah knew they always took a garbage bag with them to the beach or when they went on hikes to make sure they didn't leave anything behind. As they talked a little bit more, they reached the top of the tropics tank. It was crystal blue and filled with the most beautiful, colorful fish Levi and Ivy had ever seen. "We have so many amazing fish in this tank, and they're all very gentle and kind," said Sarah. "But do you know who the funniest fish in here is? Could it be a clownfish?" said Ivy with a giggle. "You're absolutely right," Sarah giggled back. It was finally time to jump in the tank. Sarah went over a few rules with Levi and Ivy and taught them the proper way to use their snorkel. On the count of 3, they all gently slipped into the tank and found themselves swimming in a gorgeous coral reef. Levi and Ivy used special brushes to clean the glass so the aquarium guests could see the fish and so the water stayed nice and clean. Sarah tapped Levi and Ivy on the shoulder and pointed towards the glass as there were some special visitors looking into the tank. It was Levi and Ivy's mom and dad. Levi and Ivy waved and smiled, well, as much as they could while wearing a snorkel. Their time in the tank moved very quickly, and before they knew it, Sarah was motioning for Levi and Ivy to meet her at the surface. "You both did an amazing job," said Sarah. "In a few years, you could definitely check back in to see if there are any job openings. I see 2 future aquarists in the making." It was time to dry off and head outside to one of the outdoor exhibits. It was filled with the softest, cutest, and silliest creatures at the aquarium, the sea otters. They ran around, slid down slippery rocks into their pool, and chattered hello as Levi and Ivy approached. But of course, since this was a behind-the-scenes tour, they were behind the exhibit instead of in front of it. So they were able to get an even closer look at these amazing marine creatures. Sarah told Ivy that she could reach down and splash the water to get one of the sea otters to swim over to her. "This is a new command we're working on with them," said Sarah. "When they hear a splash, they come over to a special spot, and that way we can feed them or do medical checks with our vet staff." Ivy knelt down to splash the water and remarked how cold it was. She asked Sarah if the sea otters ever get cold. "You don't have to worry about these little guys getting cold," said Sarah. "Sea otters have one of the thickest fur coats in the animal kingdom. Somewhere around 600,000 to 1 million hairs per square inch. So they stay nice and warm in this cold water exhibit." Levi and Ivy had a great time playing with the sea otters, but Levi couldn't help but ask what was next. Sarah was quick to tell him they were moving from something cute to something a little bit more menacing. "Sharks get a bad rap," said Sarah, "but they're really amazing sea creatures, and you'll get a chance to learn all about them when we feed them." Levi and Ivy looked at each other with wide eyes. Sarah reassured them again that everything was going to be just fine. They trusted her, so they went along with an open mind. "Welcome to the top of the shark tank," said Sarah. "One of my favorite places in the aquarium. But before we see the sharks, let me first introduce you to one of their cousins, the stingray. And don't let the name fool you. These rays don't sting because their stingers have been removed." Sarah showed Levi and Ivy the proper way to feed the rays, which, to their surprise, was right out of their hands. She told them to hold the food in a completely flat hand, and the rays would come right over and vacuum it up. And she was right. "That tickles," said Ivy with a laugh. "It sure does," giggled Levi. Sarah was happy that they were having fun, but was very quick to remind them they should never try to feed or interact with any animals in the wild, no matter how cute they may look. "There are a lot of places you can call if you think an animal is hurt or in danger," said Sarah. "Like us, right here at the aquarium. I'll be sure to tell our friends that when we go back to the beach," said Levi. "That's great," said Sarah. "That's one of the great things about visiting aquariums. You can make really close connections with animals that you would never get a chance to see in the wild. The more we know about these animals, the more we can care about them. And if we care, then we'll want to help them and our planet as a whole. Because just like us, it's their home too." "That sounds like the talk we had in science class last week," said Ivy. "We learned what it means to be an environmental steward, someone who works to protect the planet and the things and animals in it." "That's right. You and Levi will be great stewards. I know it. But first, let's get you over to the shark tank, and you'll be happy to know we don't feed the sharks from our hands. We just use a pole," said Sarah. Levi and Ivy looked very relieved as they placed the pole in the water and watched the graceful, powerful, and beautiful fish swim up and grab a tasty treat. "This day has been better than I could have ever imagined," said Levi as they walked from the shark area into the marine theater. "How could it get better?" "This is where we do our dolphin show," said Sarah. "The trainers here work with our dolphins every day to make sure they are cared for and happy. I'm going to take you over to learn a few hand commands so that you can see what it's like to be a trainer." Levi and Ivy knew this was going to be an experience they would never forget, and they were right. Levi and Ivy met 2 dolphin trainers who taught them different hand movements that would signal the dolphins to jump out of the water, slide up onto the stage on their bellies, and even retrieve a plastic bottle from the bottom of the pool. Here at the aquarium, we like to have the message of conservation and keeping our planet clean runs through all of our exhibits, shows, and educational programs, Sarah began. "It's like I said before, the more we can teach people about these amazing animals, the more they'll form a bond with them and want to protect them in the wild. People need to know that even the littlest actions, like picking up a plastic bag, can make a huge difference to sea creatures." The tour was now drawing to a close, but Levi and Ivy didn't want it to end. "Sarah, this has been the best day of my life," said Ivy. "Thank you so much for showing us around the aquarium." "I will never forget this," added Levi. "And you can bet that Ivy and I will definitely be back to apply for a job when we're old enough." "That's wonderful, and I hope you do. It was my pleasure to show you around," said Sarah. "I can tell that you are both friends to the planet and will take everything you learned here today and share it with your friends and family. And just so you know, you don't have to wait until you're my age to get a job here." "You mean you'll give us a job right now?" said Levi excitedly. "Well, not exactly. What I mean is you can volunteer as our Junior Aquarist program and get to do more of the same things we did here today," said Sarah. "I'm one of the aquarists that leads the program, and it would be really great to see you both here." "That sounds perfect," said Ivy. "We'll tell our parents as soon as we see them." "That's great," said Sarah. "But before you go, I wanted to introduce you to 2 of our penguin chicks. Your parents are waiting at the exhibit, and we're going to meet them there." Levi and Ivy couldn't think of a better way to end their behind-the-scenes aquarium tour. As they exited back into the main part of the aquarium, they saw their parents waiting for them in the distance, just next to the penguin exhibit. "We're going to meet them in the underwater viewing area," said Sarah. "Both your parents and the new penguins." Levi and Ivy ran towards the viewing area and right to their parents. They were both frantically talking about the day they had had and how they wanted to be junior aquarists and how great Sarah and the tour was. "That all sounds amazing, but the last thing is really going to put a smile on your faces," said Levi and Ivy's mom, who knew that something special was about to happen. And as Levi and Ivy turned around, Sarah was standing there with 2 small penguins. "They're so cute," said Ivy. "What are their names?" asked Levi. "Well, you may not believe it, but this is Levi and Ivy," smiled Sarah. "But those are our names." said Ivy, taking a second to realize what was going on. You named them after us? She was holding back tears as she was so overwhelmed by the amazing gesture. We did, said Sarah. And after getting to know you both, I couldn't think of two better names. Thank you so much, said Levi and Ivy together as they gave Sarah a big hug. Levi and Ivy left the aquarium that day with a newfound appreciation for the planet and the animals that call it home. They felt a sense of responsibility to protect them and share the amazing experience they had that day with others. After talking with Sarah, they learned that even small acts of kindness can make a big difference to the little and big creatures that share this wonderful world with us. Want to start a podcast? Spotify has an easy, free platform called Spotify for Podcasters. Here's how it works. Record and edit your podcast on your phone or computer with ease. Share your podcast on Spotify and all other major platforms. You can even make video podcasts on Spotify. If you want to engage with your audience more, use Q&A and polls. You can earn money through ads and podcast subscriptions. It's completely free, no hidden cost. Give it a try. Visit www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. We love making our podcast, and working with Spotify has been amazing. Did you learn a lesson from this story?
If so, what was it?
And parents, do your kids have a story idea?
Leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, the idea, and your kid's name for a chance to join Levi and Ivy on their next adventure. Until next time.
Thanks for listening. Come back for more.